We're just about set to start this gold medal game between Canada and Czechoslovakia. Canada wearing the white tops with the red pants. They're wearing the Cooperall uniforms. Czechoslovakia in the red and blue uniforms. The starting unit for the Canadians, Stefan Richer, Johnson, and Corson up front. As the game is underway, it goes deep into the Czech zone. Flasser playing it up along the boards. Rink-wide pass, picked up in the center ice area and brought in across the line by Robert Cron. Goes in back of the net, and back there for Team Canada is Corson. Corson, his pass too far for Richer. Cron picks it off in the center ice area. He circles back into his own zone.
Don, the Canadian team is going to start with 3 lines, and they've moved Wendell Clark back to defense, and they're going to start with 6 defensemen so they won't wear and tear as the game wears on.
I think one of the feelings yesterday in that 4-4 tie with Finland was that the defensemen were getting tired towards the end of the game.
Exactly, and with that 5 defense rotation, it hurt them badly. It's a Czechoslovakian goaltender, Hasek. He played in the Canada Cup for the same Czechoslovakians with the national club and played very well. And of course, Greg Billington in goal for the Canadians again, and he has gotten better and better as the tournament's worn on. A very controlled goaltender.
Krasler's pass picked off in the center ice area, picked up again by the Czechs. Kuchera shoots it into the Canadian zone. Sevchik flips it in back of the net. Puck grabbed by Team Canada, having some difficulties clearing their own zone. Finally, they get it out. It's picked up in the center ice area by Sevchik, and much like the Soviets, the Czechs like to go back into their own zone to organize their attack.
Well, they feel possession is the main part of the hockey game, and they want to hold on it, control it, and then shoot that pass across the ice and catch the Canadians standing still.
Grattan flips it out of his own zone and slides deep into Czech territory. Hasek has to play it behind his own net. Up along the boards for Horvath. Horvath has it moved away from him by Grattan. The Czechs play it to the other side. Again, a steal by the Canadians at the line. They take it to the boards and hold it for a face-off.
Terry Simpson, the head coach of this Canadian national junior team, he was saying that his team is much looser for this hockey game than they were yesterday. You know, one thing about it, Don, is this building was absolutely jammed yesterday with fans, and mostly Finnish fans. Today, not so much, and it takes a little pressure off this Canadian hockey club.
Well, I think they felt the pressure yesterday, realizing that they had to win or tie to stay alive in the chase for the gold medal. They got the tie, of course, and with Czechoslovakia defeating the Soviet Union in a game played later in the day in Turku, that set the stage for this battle for the gold. Bradley in the corner, knocked off the puck. It goes to the other side. A lot of room in behind the nets on the European ice surface, and now the Czechs bring it out. Lathall working to the corner. He's taken in against the board. The puck goes loose. And starting now out of the Canadian zone is Adam Creighton, a draft choice of the Buffalo Sabres. As a matter of fact, the Ottawa 67 graduate has been with the Sabres this year. At the line, the puck bounces over the stick of Odeline. Pivonka into the Canadian zone, tried to feed it across. Cron takes the shot. It's knocked down in front. And finally dumped back to center ice. Cron now plays it on the left wing, back to Pivonka. Pivonka, the leading scorer for the Czech team, had it poked away from him by Bob Dallas, and back comes Canada. Drop pass for Corson, shot, glove save by Hasek, in goal for Czechoslovakia. Radisek Pospišil coaches the Czechoslovakian team, and of course he's a veteran competitor. He had a number of tours of Canada with the Czech national team in the past.
He was a great defenseman. You know, we've got to watch this Czechoslovakian team. They have strong center icemen, and they are the keys to that hockey club. Very, very talented, especially with Pivonka. As you said, Don, the leading scorer, but he's also got a lot of skills.
And Pivonka still has a year of eligibility remaining in this World Junior Championship. The puck is touched offside by Flasher in the Canadian zone, resulting in the whistle and the face-off back in the neutral zone.
There again, we can take a look at those glass shields that the Canadian players are wearing, and the players are still complaining about them. They were not used to them at all. They get very hot and steamy on the inside. They've taken and put soap suds around the inside to try and take away the fogging and steaming up. And I guess their vision is much better.
Now brought in by Tomac. He is checked, and back comes Corson for Canada. Corson, a pass that hit Richer on the skates, and the Czechs take over in the center ice area. Kapusta has his shot blocked at the line by Richer. Canada comes back. Richer tried to feed it ahead for Corson. It was picked off by Kuchera. Richer gets it again, but he is checked by Prasner as he came in across the line, and it's dumped back into the neutral zone by the Czechs. Kapusta has it knocked away from him by Clark at the blue line. Wendell Clark, who has primarily been playing as a left winger in the tournament, dropped back to a blue line position for this game by Coach Terry Simpson. Lead pass for Bradley. His shot off a stick, and it's gloved and held by Hasek.
We can see the Czechoslovakians play a defensive-styled hockey game. They try to take that center ice away. So the Canadians are going to penetrate it all. They're going to have to use this entire ice surface, the width of it, and be able to come down. So we'll take a look at Shane Corson, one of the primary penalty killers here for the Canadian club.
Along the boards, Horvath dumping it out into the center ice area, looking for Marish. Bradley got back there to break up the play. A pass intercepted by Brad Berry and deflected back into the Czechoslovakian zone. 15:49 the time remaining here in the opening period. This gold medal game at the World Junior Hockey Championships at the Helsinki Ice Hall. Kadlec with a shot. It's deflected in front just over top of the Canadian goal as Horvath was cruising into the slot. Now here's a 2-on-1 break for Canada. A pass on the wing. Bradley winds up, and the Czech defender dropped in front of it, and the play is whistled down, and I believe we have penalties coming up, one to each side, as Marish will be going off for Czechoslovakia and Hodgson for Team Canada. That took place behind the play.
That was probably Basson, I believe, Don. Yeah, it was on the weak side of the ice, the area away from where the puck was being shot towards the Czechoslovakia net. You know, one thing about the Canadian club, they feel they got too emotionally involved in the game against the Finnish hockey club, especially with their referee. Now, it's the same referee in this hockey game, and they had a team meeting to try and contain themselves and not get out there and take bad penalties. Control the emotions, but still be emotional.
Basson and Marish going to the penalty box as the puck is dumped down into the Canadian zone. Kuchera fighting in the corner along with Grattan. Grattan loses it. Pavanka moving right out front. Took a shot. Another shot. Loose puck in front. And Kuchera cruising through there. Tried to get his stick on it. It was knocked away. Grattan comes back for Canada. A long drive. And Hasek clears that to the board. In the corner now, it's Glasser for Czechoslovakia. Glasser back of his own goal. Starting out, leading this attack. No score in the hockey game. Four skaters aside. A shot by Kuchera, and it's held by Craig Billington.
You know, Billington is a very controlled goaltender. We mentioned that in the opening. He stands up very well, and when he moves his leg or an arm, it's for a reason. Very controlled. Ken Dryden was a controlled goaltender in the National Hockey League. Billington's also helped the midget program in Ontario, midget hockey, that is. He's written a book or a manual on goaltending for the midget kids, and he's very, you know, quite an intellectual type of a fellow and does a good job with kids.
Back to the point, Kuchera. He plays it over to the other side. Prasner with a shot to save by Craig Billington. Yves Baudouin playing it around to the other side for Bob Dallas. Ahead to Bradley. Bradley had it poked away from him. And as it was poked back into the Canadian zone, a Czech player was trapped offside. 14:30 is the time remaining in this scoreless opening period. 1:03 the time left in the penalties to Marish and Basson. The referee is Ulf Lindgren of Sweden, the linesman Peter Pummel of Finland, and Karl Koteschning of Austria. Koteschning very easy to pick out. He's wearing the bright red skates.
They look like ski boots, not skates.
Bob Dallas in his own zone, gets it ahead to Bradley. Bradley working in against Kuchera, gets through the slot, takes a shot, and Hasek, I think, just got a piece of it. Fine move by Bradley to move in and provide Canada with its best scoring opportunity of the game.
Don, the Canadian players are going to have to start shooting to the top half of the net. Those European goaltenders go down a lot.
Kuchera with the drive from the point. It goes wide. Prasner from the other side, knocked down in front by Bob Dallas. Now Adam Creighton to the attack for Canada. He has Bradley with him, the two of them across the line. Creighton tried to get around Kuchera, had it poked away to the boards. Bradley along the boards, fighting with Kapusta. It's finally knocked out to the neutral zone, and Wendell Clark back for Canada. Long drive, and the stick save by Hasek as it's steered in behind the net for Kuchera. 13:28 the time remaining here in the first period. No score, Canada and Czechoslovakia. Sevcik is sent flying with a check. Now it's Basson back on the ice. The penalized players out of the box, in across the line. He loses it. And Horvath for Czechoslovakia with a shot that was blocked by Corson. It comes back to the line. Kadlec with a drive, just goes wide. Latto shoots it high off the glass behind the Canadian goal. Kadlec with another shot right on, and Billington makes the save. The Czechs letting go some blazing shots from the point. Only one found the target, and Billington reacted to that as they tie it up along the boards for the faceoff.
For this Czechoslovakian hockey club, when they shoot those shots from the point like that, Don, they like to keep them low. They shoot at the top of the crease area. They like to have their wingers take the deflections up top, over top of the goaltender, if at all possible, and they try to delay those shots as long as they can. And it's basically a set play for them.
Pavanka in the face-off circle against Richer. Pavanka, the leading scorer for the Czechoslovakian team. He has 8 goals in the tournament.
This Czech team would like to have that Peter Svoboda with him, too, the fellow playing for the Montreal Canadiens. He's eligible to play in this tournament, but I think he decided to go where the money was.
Well, he was able to get out of Czechoslovakia, and, of course, was the draft choice of the Montreal Canadiens last year. Loose puck in front of the net. And at the side of the net, Braun took a swipe at it, and I think Billington may have got a stick on it. Here's the drive by Glasser, another shot. Loose puck, they jam away at it, and Billington spread himself low in that Canadian goal to make 2 big saves.
4 big saves, I think, was more like it. The Canadians a little guilty in front of their own net, not showing the strength they should. In all fairness to Selmar Odoline, he's playing with a very bad shoulder, and he's got a pad, and it's all taped underneath his shoulder pad. Here, let's take a look at the goaltending. Now, when Billington comes back here, his skate blade caught the goalpost, and that knocked him off balance, but he kept concentration. Watch that puck. Now, look at the Canadians, nobody taking the body. You have to forget about the puck, turn around, and start knocking some of these Czechoslovakian players over.
You were absolutely right, John. 4 big saves by Craig Billington. From the face-off, another shot directly from that face-off, and Billington made the glove save off Sevcik.
Now, Don, you just mentioned another shot directly from the face-off. Right. These Canadians have not done very well on the draws. In fact, Richer has been their best centerman, and we'll probably see him later on in the hockey game taking the key face-offs.
Krasner with a shot right on, and the rebound taken in behind the net by Baudouin. Flipped over to Bob Dallas, to Basson into the center ice area, nobody back there, and the Czechs go to the attack again. Krasner shooting it in deep. Tomac picking it up off the boards in front. He was looking for Kapusta, and Kapusta could not deflect it. Back to the line, the pass intercepted by Bradley. Bradley for Bob Dallas on the right side for Basson. He was offside.
Canadians are very fortunate that Czechoslovakians aren't very sharp around that net. Twice they've missed easy deflections, wide open nets. And the Canadians can easily find themselves down a couple of goals here, Don. They're not skating. They don't seem to have that zip they had earlier in the tournament, up to this point, that is.
You mentioned earlier the fact that the Czechs are having success in the face-off circle. Yesterday, the Finns were dominant in that phase of the game. As a matter of fact, the success in the face-off circle led to a couple of goals by the Finns. Now it's Laddell going back of his own net, being chased back there and pursued by Hodgson. However, a long lead pass comes up ice intended for Marish, and as it's touched by Barry, icing is charged against Czechoslovakia.
Now let's watch the styles of the hockey game here. When this Canadian club are coming up the ice again, they can't seem to penetrate the center of the ice. They can't seem to penetrate that area at all. They have to pass the puck wide. Now they have to pick up on this, move the puck quickly to try and open up that area so they can get the better angled shots towards Hasek, the Czechoslovakian goaltender.
Back to the line, Clark with a blast, and it was knocked down in front as it hit one of the Czech defenders in front of the goal. But the young defenseman certainly has a blazing shot. He blasted one against the United States. And I think the United States goalie had absolutely no idea where that shot was coming from.
That was a great shot. I was talking to Ron Lapointe, the assistant coach of this Canadian club. He is the coach and general manager of the Shawinigan Cataracts in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. And he was saying that you have to watch these Czech defensemen, especially number 5, Glazer. They like to go down and block shots a lot. And he says we have to try and delay it, fake them, and get those defensemen out of the play.
Puck goes back into the Czechoslovakian zone. Gudas, who is considered to be one of the top defensemen on this Czechoslovakian team, dumping it down the ice, a race for the loose puck. Here's a shot, it just goes wide. Selmar Odelane flipping it ahead to Jackson. Jackson's pass too far for Creighton. Loose puck in the center ice area. Now it's Miner dumping it up along the boards for Creighton to Jackson. Jackson, rink wide, offside, as the play is whistled down with Bradley across that Czechoslovakian blue line ahead of the play.
There we see some of the Canadian fans. I believe that's the Barry family from Basha, Alberta. Of course, their son Bradbury has had an excellent tournament, played very well, goes to school at the University of North Dakota. Canadians, a lot of Canadians in Helsinki and southern Finland for the Finnair World Bantam Tournament. In fact, there's close to 1,000 Canadians in the area. 660 of them are hockey players.
10:15, the time remaining. A scoreless first period in this gold medal game at the Helsinki Ice Hall. Now it's Dallas up along the boards. Corson having some problems, finally gets it out into the neutral zone. Now he decides to go back into his own zone to Dallas to regroup. Pass it into the center ice area for Johnson. He couldn't do anything with it. And Corson flips it back into his own zone. Corson gets it again to the attack for Canada. He falls in the center ice area. Still manages to get back on his feet. Now in across the line. Takes the shot, the save by Hasek as Richer was cutting in, looking for the rebound. 9:37 the time remaining in this first period. And we remind you, coming up on January 5th, a golden summer, a look back at the thrills and excitement of the 1984 Summer Olympic Games in Los Angeles.
I think this hockey club would like some thrills of their own. There was certainly a lot during those Olympics, and if the Canadian club can get it rolling here, they'll find themselves with a gold medal.
Backhand shot by Clark, knocked down, and the Czechs come back. A 3-on-2 break. The pass a little too far for Lubina into the Canadian zone, and Team Canada takes over. A long lead pass, bouncing away from Hodgson. Lemieux trying to feed it out front. It goes off a skate to the other corner. Grattan is in there with Hodgson doing the forechecking for Canada. Clark trying to pinch in from the point. However, he overskated it, and it's brought back by the Czechs. Lathall working to the corner, taken in against the boards. The puck goes loose. The Czechs get it again in back of the Canadian goal. And Team Canada's Wendell Clark picks it off, feeds it too far on the left side for Grattan as they fight for it in the center ice area. Then Clark dishes out a body check as he sends Horvath flying to the ice with 8:43 remaining in this first period.
Wendell Clark was showing some of his superior strength there. I guess when you work on a 3,200-acre farm, you get a little upper body strength.
Pavanka with Cadillac, a shot that is blocked. The puck goes back in behind the goal. Miner up along the boards. The Canadians having some problems getting out of their own zone. Now they move out. Bradley overskated it in the center ice area, and back comes Kuchera. Kuchera's shot is blocked by Selmar Odelane, and Canada goes to the attack. Over on the right side for Adam Creighton. The big center trying to get around Gudas. He's taken off the puck, and Cron works from the corner. Cron goes to the other side, picked off by Jackson, a shot, and it's deflected wide. Odeline leaves it at the line for Bradley. Bradley back to the point now for Miner. Miner takes a shot, deflected, another drive, loose puck in front, and Bradley tried to jam it after Creighton fired a spin-around shot. Back to the point now, Canada with the pressure, Odeline with a drive just wide. And finally the Czechs start out of their own zone, led by Cron.
Don, the goaltender Hasek made a desperation save. That's what I meant earlier by about the players on Canada have to go upstairs on rebounds or anything as such. He was down and hit him on the back of the leg by the skate area, and it should have been in the net.
Krasler back into his own zone. The Canadians more effective now with their forechecking. This is something that they planned on doing, forcing the Czechs in their own zone.
Well, they're picking up their level of skating a little bit. They were very slow coming out of the gate, which surprises me because the team has had a lot of emotion early, but they're starting to pick it up now, and fortunately, there's no goals in the Canadian goal yet.
Johnson deflects it back into the Czechoslovakian zone. 6:46 the time remaining in this scoreless first period. Game somewhat reminiscent of the way the Canadians started against the Soviets, just a little tentative. Then near the midway point of the period, they began to pick things up and of course went on to that 5-0 victory in the game played on Saturday in Turku. Now it's Richer, drop pass. Yves Baudouin tried to feed it back to Richer, who had gone in behind the net, and it was picked off by the Czechs. Bob Dallas for Canada in the center ice area, playing it off the boards and in.
Don, whenever the Canadians get the puck in the Czech end of the ice, the Czechs play a man-on-man situation. So the Canadians, in order to get around that, are going to have to play some picks like they do in basketball and really pick up the pace.
Another good check by Clark. Marish for Czechoslovakia, working to the goal, trying to feed it in front, and it was cleared just in time by Basson. Basson runs into Latol. He sends him flying. Another good check by Clark. He's hitting everybody in sight. A whistle on the play, and the official rules that it was gloved ahead. The face-off to the right of Craig Billington. Wendell Clark has dished out some punishing body checks.
His dad has that huge farm in Saskatchewan, and Wendell does a lot of work there, and he has upper body strength. I'll tell you, he's going to be a draft this year, and a high one from Western Canada.
Gudas from the line, a shot that did not get through as it hit a player in front of the net. Now it's loose in the center ice area, and the Czechs try and reorganize. It's dumped in. Going back after it is Bradbury. Up along the boards for Grattan. Grattan feeds it into the center ice area. Hodgson in across the line, puts on the brakes, goes rink wide. The line with a drive, and the defenseman slid across and got a piece of it.
That was at number 5 again, Fraser. Remember we mentioned he's going to go down and block shots, and the Canadians are going to get a chance on a power play, Don.
Gudas is going to be heading to the box for Czechoslovakia. There it is in the corner.
And a good call, a referee right there on top of the play. Now the Canadian scouting staff of this national team had mentioned that the Czechoslovakians don't kill penalties that well, and they were hoping they would get some opportunities to go on the power play, and we'll see if they're able to take advantage of it.
One of the few occasions in the last couple of games where the Canadians have had a power play opportunity.
To this point of the tournament, they've been averaging 1 per game, and that's not very many. Now keep in mind about these defensemen going down to block shots and see if the Canadians have patience and hold on to the puck.
From the face-off, it's poked out into the center ice area. Going back after it is Wendell Clark, circling into his own zone.
Don, that penalty to Gudas was for interference.
Odeline in across the line. Creighton going to the front of the net. Odeline to Creighton, who now moves in behind the goal. A lot of room on these European ice surfaces, of course, to work in behind the net. To the line to Clark. Clark having some difficulty controlling it, and it's poked away back into the center ice area. Selmar Odeline back there to organize for Team Canada. Odeline, a draft choice of the Edmonton Oilers in the first round at the 1984 underage draft. Now it goes to the corner. Creighton takes it back to the net, moving right out front. He lost control of it, and it's cleared by the Czechs.
One of the attributes about big Creighton is he's fairly smart with a puck, and if they're going to give him time to control it behind the net like that, he's going to make a nice pass sooner or later.
Creighton almost had it poked away from him in his own zone by Sevchik. They still fight for it along the boards, and finally it's dumped back into the neutral zone and fired in by Krasner, but he had a teammate trapped offside with 47 seconds remaining in the penalty to Gudas.
Canadians, again, don't seem to be quite as emotional as they were in their past hockey games. I know the coaching staff were worried about the club being over-emotional, and sometimes that takes a lot of the zing and the stamina out of the players. Perhaps they've gone the other way a little bit too far. Now the coaches are going to have to get them charged up again.
Minor back into his own zone. 37 seconds remaining in the penalty to Gudas. Minor on the wing for Hodgson. Hodgson drops it back to Minor. Minor to Hodgson. Hodgson for Canada, playing it back of the net. Lemieux takes a shot, knocked down in front, loose puck, they jam away at it. It goes to the corner, Lemieux races in there. Unable to control it, it's poked back to the line, and Kapusta brings it out to center ice and shoots it into Canadian territory with 10 seconds remaining in the penalty. Brad Berry, a pass up on the right side for Hodgson. He gives it back to Berry. However, it's picked off by the Czechs, and the Czechs are now back at full strength with Gudas out of the box. Drop pass for Marish, a backhand shot. It's gloved and held by Craig Billington.
Well, we could see out in front of the net, Brad Berry took the Czechoslovakian player and stayed right with him in case there was a rebound. Billington made the good save and held on to it, but those defensemen don't worry about the puck, and that's the type of stay-at-home work they like to see. But watch, it's a 3-on-3, and see how each Canadian are picking up one player each. Now the backhand shot's going to go towards the net, and we can see Berry staying right with that player in front, staying right with Gudas as much as he could, and that's exactly what coaches like to see in front of their own net.
Berry, a University of North Dakota product, has been an outstanding defenseman for Team Canada. He initially played for the St. Albert Saints and then went on to the University of North Dakota, and is a draft pick of the Winnipeg Jets. And I'm sure that Mike Smith, who is over here scouting on behalf of the Winnipeg Jets, has to be pleased with the play of Brad Berry, as the Jets hope that he will be a National Hockey Leaguer of the future.
What they're impressed with Brad about mostly is the fact that he's improved every year. And that's, you know, when you draft people at such a young age, it's very difficult to really see how good they're going to be. But when they keep that improvement going year by year, well, that makes the scouts' jobs look like they've been doing their job.
Dumped in by Gudas. Going back after it is Shane Corson. Corson gets the return pass as he starts down the right side, and then he's sent flying. A hip check by Gudas in the corner. The puck comes out front. Here's a shot by Johnson. Way out of his net was Hasek to make the save. He was a good 15 feet out of the net, making that save on the slap shot from the line by Johnson. 2:21 the time remaining here in this first period. Here's the check that sent the Canadian player Corson flying, and then the puck came back out to Johnson, who was in the slot, but Hasek was way out of the net to make the save. The face-off just outside the Canadian line. No score in the first period in this gold medal game here at the World Junior Hockey Championships. Now it's Prasler working to the line. He winds up, and the pad save by Billington. Wendell Clark tried to get it out, kept in by Tomac, a shot right on, and now Brad Berry starts back for Canada. Berry plays it off the boards into the Czechoslovakian zone. Less than 2 minutes remaining here in the first period. Brad Berry pinching in from the point, flipping it in back of the goal. Basson takes it to the boards along with Prasler. Sandluck is also in there trying to poke it free. Finally, it does come out to Bradley. Bradley trying to move it into the slot. It's picked off by the Czechs. They clear it. Picked off again by Berry, and he shoots it back into the Czechoslovakian zone. Dumped back out to center ice. Wendell Clark, who has done an excellent job of dishing out body checks for Team Canada here in the first period, chasing the Czechoslovakian player, forcing him to dump it in. And now on the change, Canada comes back. Hodgson fakes the shot, works to the corner, trying to slip it out front. Nobody in position, hangs on, finally gives it back to the line to Minor. Minor over to the other side. Odeline with a shot, and the deflection by Grattan just goes wide. Minor gets it at the blue line for Hodgson. Hodgson drops it off to Minor. Minor with a slap shot. It hit a player in front and bounces back out into center ice. We're into the final minute of this opening period as Lemieux hammers it off the boards into Czechoslovakian territory. Now Latol for the Czechs. Dumping it down the ice. Minor is back for Canada. Team Canada applying some pressure here in the late stages of this opening period. The puck poked away from the Canadian defenseman Odeline. Fortunately, A Canadian defender was able to get back and recover. Lemieux now for Canada across the line, drops it for Grattan. His shot is deflected by Hasek. Grattan working to the corner, trying to feed it out front. 18 seconds remaining here in the first period. Finally, it's brought out by the Czechs. Pivonka working in across the line. A weak shot that went off a stick. Rolls to the corner with 7 seconds remaining. In behind the net, Pivonka back to the line. And Lubina got a weak shot away, and a long drive by Canada sails wide of the Czechoslovakia net off the stick of John Miner just as the horn sounds to end a scoreless first period. Well, Craig Billington at about the 7-minute mark of the period, as you pointed out, made 4 very big saves from a scramble in front of that Canadian net. That was about the toughest time he had during that first period. Canada had some chances at the midway point of the period and again late in the period.
Hasek played very, very well. You can see he wears number 9. That's a very different number for a goalkeeper to wear, but he's aggressive. He challenged. He didn't sit back on his heels, and I imagine his coaching staff liked to see that. It's been a pretty good battle, and it's gone the way we expected. Low scoring and also good goaltending.
Well, we were told that the 2 stars of the Czechoslovakian team, Hasek and Pivonka, swapped sweaters prior to the tournament getting underway. Pivonka used to wear number 9, Hasek number 20, and for some strange reason, they swapped jerseys prior to the tournament getting underway. So it's now Hasek wearing 9 and Pivonka number 20. But those two definitely are the stars of the Czechoslovakian squad. Hasek, as John Davidson pointed out, played in the Canada Cup. He participated in 5 games in Canada Cup play, and he had 7 games last year in the World Junior Championships. So it's scoreless as we start period 2. Kron brings it in across the line. Kron trying to go around Miner. Miner stood his ground, broke it up, and fed it ahead to Bradley. For Creighton in across the line. Creighton drop pass. Jackson with a shot. It hit a leg. And as you have pointed out, John, those Czechoslovakian defensemen block a number of shots. Oh, almost a bad pass there by Miner. Kron didn't know where it was as it hit him. Creighton now working from the corner. Bradley trying to get it back to the line. Feeds it in front for Jackson. He was unable to deflect it. Now it comes back to the line. Odeline having some problems along the boards. It bounces out to the neutral zone. Poked free by the Czechs, but Miner is back to cover up. Loose puck in the center ice area. Bradley plays it off the boards. Down into the Czechoslovakian zone. Creighton moving right out front. And the Czech defender Gudas slid in front of it to take it to the boards.
Again, but that time it was a good defensive play to slide across and take that pass. This Czechoslovakian hockey club, Don, you can tell are very well coached, very disciplined.
Now it's Hodgson for Canada, moving in on the right side, and he was unable to get the shot away. Here's a drive now by Baudouin. It sails wide, and it ricochets all the way off the boards and back into Team Canada territory. A couple of good chances here in the second for Team Canada. However, that puck has just been bouncing away from a stick or over the top of a stick.
Well, this Canadian club have a very interesting coaching staff. Ron LaPointe is quite a rah-rah person. Terry Simpson a little more low-keyed, and Sherry Basson is quite a character. And I imagine with that type of a blend, those in-between period sessions sometimes help.
Lemieux is bodied in against the boards. Then Krasler is taken in against the boards. A good check there by Hodgson. Now it's dumped out into the center ice area. 2-on-1 for the Czechs. Marish across the line, but Lubina went ahead of the play.
You know, there's one thing about the European hockey clubs, and Terry Simpson has to be wondering about it, is when they get rolling, they use those quick outlet passes. And at that time, they took advantage of it, and they had a 2-on-1. Only it was a silly play by Lubina, and he went offside. But the Canadian club have to be very aware of that quick transition of this Czechoslovakian hockey club.
Well, Czechoslovakia has never won a gold medal in World Championship play. They won the silver in 79, 82, and 83, and the bronze in 77 and 84. Canada has just one gold medal, and that, of course, was in 1981-82. They refer to it as the 82 tournament, as it concluded on New Year's Day, 1982. But the tournament then held in Winnipeg and Rochester, Minnesota, and that's when Team Canada won that gold medal. And the manager of the team that year was Sherry Basson, the team coached by Dave King.
Take a look at those curved sticks that the European hockey clubs use. Sherry Basson was saying if you paint them yellow, they would look just like bananas. One thing they don't care about is rules. And we'll see how this game progresses, and the Canadian coaching staff might try and take advantage of the illegal curve.
It could be that Terry Simpson and Ron LaPointe, before this game ends, might call for a measurement on those Czechoslovakian sticks. Some of them clearly appear to be in violation of the regulation.
Well, they sure do, and I guess it's not very sportsmanlike over here if you do try to call the other club for the illegal stick, but when it comes to a gold medal game, who cares?
The face-off to the right of Hasek, 17:27 remaining here in the second period. Richer trying to feed out front. It bounces off Gudas's skate, and it's picked up by Pavonka. Pavonka trying to go around Selmar Odeline. It was broken up. The clearing pass deflected into the Czechoslovakian bench, forcing a face-off with 17:14 remaining here in the second.
Don, it's nice to see a hockey game of junior caliber where it's low scoring and it's played very smartly out there. Nowadays, you see these 10-8 hockey games, and there's a lot of loose play. Mind you, some great goal scoring and some pretty goals, but this is a thinking man's hockey game, what we're seeing right now, and neither team's trying to give an inch. They're trying to stay sharp mentally.
Well, of course, the Finns are hoping that the score remains exactly as it is. They'd like to see these two teams wind up in a tie. Then they would have a chance, albeit a slim one, for the gold medal. If Czechoslovakia and Canada were to wind up in a deadlock, the Finns in the final game of the tournament could win the gold medal if they defeat Canada or the Soviet Union by 8 goals. We've got a penalty coming up against Bob Basson of Team Canada.
He's going to get a tripping penalty. Again, the Czechoslovakians were coming out with a puck. And Bobby Basson got caught again away from the play. So important penalties not to take at this juncture of the hockey game. Of course, Bobby Basson plays so darn aggressive that sometimes he's going to take those penalties. There you can see that caged mask we were talking about him wearing. There's a little bit of bumping and grinding going on. Now the play comes back up. And Bobby Basson got caught with a tripping, but we'll see how this penalty killing works for the Canadian Hockey Club. Has been absolutely excellent. The Czech team like to set up a 1-3-1 power play, Don. They try to work the puck down around the goal area and 2-on-1 of defenseman, much the same as the Quebec Nordiques do in the National Hockey League.
Latto back at the point. Winds up the shot and the save. The loose puck in front of the net. It was whistled down. Maris tried to kick it in, but it had been whistled down by referee Ulf Lindgren.
Lindgren, after he blew the whistle, turned to the Czechoslovakian bench and apologized. He thought that the goaltender was going to corral it. Now, look, there's no Czechoslovakians around that net, and that's why Billington had no trouble making the original save. The referee thought he had caught it. There you can see Maris trying to kick it in.
Taken in behind the net by Barry, and Barry plays it off the boards and down the ice. 1:28 the time remaining, and the penalty to Bob Basson. Maris leading the attack for Czechoslovakia. On the right side, Latto across the line. He tried to feed it back to Maris. It's cleared down the ice again by the Canadian team.
Don, the Canadians using the same format, killing penalties as they did against the Russians. They're not trying to get anybody trapped in that offensive zone. Have 4 people back all the time, so those Czechs can't really get the 2-on-1.
Kadlec with a shot in front of the net. Lubina was attempting to deflect it. It bounces to the corner, and it's cleared down the ice by Team Canada. Team Canada making a change in the penalty-killing foursome. Jackson is out there now with Bradley. They combined for a short-handed goal yesterday against Finland. Gudas across the line, working against Jackson. Now it goes behind the net to Pavonka. 34 seconds remaining in the penalty. Here's Sevchik moving into the slot. A shot and the save by Billington as it goes to the corner.
That's a terrific save. When you stop the puck when the person's coming across the slot like that, great save.
Bobonka tried to feed it across to Kron, and he couldn't get a stick on it. Now it's Gudas working from the corner to Kron. Kron for the Czechs, trying to move out, having trouble there with Bobby Dallas, pokes it to Bobonka. Bobonka has it taken away by Dallas, and Dallas clears it to the line, but not out. Kept in there by Gudas. Now it's Kron, and Canada is back at full strength, but a penalty is coming up. A cross-checking call, I believe, against Jackson, and there, well, for a moment we thought there might be double minors as the box, the Czechoslovakian penalty box had opened, but they realized their error. It was the Canadian player, Jackson, going off. So Canada, with the penalty expiring to Basson, will be shorthanded again with Jackson going off.
That's right, Don. Jackson was playing very aggressive, killing that penalty. One thing that the Canadian club does believe in is being aggressive in their own zone, killing penalties. These European hockey clubs are not used to it. That time, Jackson got a little bit overly aggressive, and twice he cross-checked the player Gudas and finally got caught by the referee.
Now it's Kapusta dropping it back to the line. The Czechs trying to move it around. Back to the line for Prasler. For Tomek, and his shot goes wide. Off the boards all the way back into the Czechoslovakian zone. Tomek, rink wide, nobody in position. And Kuchera has to take it in behind his own zone, own goal, I should say, to regroup again. 1:20 the time remaining in the penalty to Jackson. Sevchik in across the line, loose puck, and it's dumped out by Yves Baudouin.
The bread and butter for this Canadian club has been their penalty killing, and it appears to be exceptional again tonight. And again, that's a real credit to the coaching staff for preparing this hockey club.
Long pass fed in on the right side for Tomek. Brad Berry got there first. He touched it, and that results in an icing call against the Czechs. 57 seconds remaining in the penalty to Jackson. That penalty to Jackson coming just 4 seconds after Bob Basson had left the penalty box. He had been off for tripping. We remind you that immediately following this World Junior Hockey Championship telecast from Finland, it will be the Tournament of Roses Rose Bowl Parade. And then after that, it will be the Cotton Bowl. It's a busy sports day on CBC television. Marish working to the line. He flips it in behind the Canadian goal. Selmo Rodelainen is there trying to play it up along the boards. It comes back to the point to Lattel. Lattel feeds it into the corner. 34 seconds remaining in the penalty. Fed out front, a shot and the save. Another shot and another save by Billington as Lubina was positioned at the side of the goal as he took that pass from Horvath. Now it's Horvath back at the point. Into Marish. Marish with a shot. It goes wide off the boards and down the ice.
On this penalty killing of Corson and Johnston, both of them played together on a midget team years ago, and they're both from Barrie. That's where they played together. It's strange to see them back together going for the gold medal.
Another shot from the point just as the penalty to Jackson expires. So Team Canada has killed off back-to-back penalties here in the second period. A loose puck along the boards. Kron in there fighting for it. Kicks it free to Bobonka in the corner. Bobonka can't go anywhere against Rodelainen. Unable to clear, however, as it came to the line. Now it's brought out and dumped down the ice. Going back after it is Flasser. Flasser is taken in against the boards. Kron is back there to pick it up. A penalty coming up to Flasser as he will be going off after dumping Corson in the corner.
That was a reaction penalty. This was caused by the simple reason that Corson went in and drove Flasher into the boards, and he got upset with the fact that he got hit, and he turned around and really pulled the skates right out from underneath Corson. And again, you have to have some control out there. Well, this could be a one-goal hockey game. Who knows?
Well, that's one of the things that Simpson and LaPointe stressed to their players particularly in that Soviet game, and again for this game, reaction penalties, but not re-reaction.
Exactly. You don't want penalties where if you've got to learn to take a check. If you're going to be a hockey player and you're going to turn professional, there's a lot of hard hitting going on. You have to learn to accept the fact. Don't turn around and do something that is detrimental to your hockey club.
Grattan working to the corner. Feeds it in back of the goal for Hodgson. Richer to the line. Minor to Richer. Richer moving in. A shot. It hit a defender in front. Loose puck at the side of the net. And finally, it's taken to the boards by Kuchera. Hodgson back to the line for Minor. Minor a shot. It goes wide. Off the boards to the other point. Wendell Clark feeding it into the corner for Grattan. Grattan flips it back to the net. Hodgson couldn't control it. Kadlec races over there and clears it for Czechoslovakia.
Don, these defensemen for the Czechoslovakians have stopped more shots, I believe, than the goaltender has. They just love to go right out. And a lot of times that screens your goaltender. Canadians have to try and get around that fact.
1:07 is the time remaining here in the penalty to the Czechoslovakian player, and it's cleared down the ice.
Now that last time the Canadians came up the ice with a puck, the Czechs backed right in over top of that blue line, allowing the Canadians to come right in. We'll see if it happens again this time. Go in, make a half turn with your body with the puck, and then you can control it.
Bradley working in across the line. Bradley still controlling it, feeds it across. A chance for Canada as Hodgson moved right into the slot, and Hasek stood his ground. Sevchik coming back for the Czechoslovakians, taken in against the boards by Odeline. Odeline loses it. Here's Sevchik trying to move in front. A penalty coming up against Canada.
Well, first of all, we had a great save by Hasek at the other end. You could tell that he's had great international experience. He stood his ground. He seems to be very cool in there at the other end of the ice. But first of all, we'll take a look at the save. Now watch the goaltender just play his ground. He moves over, creates the angle, stays right with the shooter Hodgson. A good save. At the other end of the ice, Odeline got caught losing the puck, and that caused his teammate to come across Wendell Clark and take a penalty, perhaps out of desperation. But sometimes the person that gets the penalty is not the person that should get it. Odeline's the one that got caught, actually.
20 seconds remaining in the hooking call to Flasser as Clark goes off for tripping. That penalty at 9:22 of this second period. It's a scoreless hockey game. This battle between Canada and Czechoslovakia for the World Junior Gold Medal. At the line, Corson was upset by Marish. The Canadians looking over, thinking that perhaps a tripping call should have been assessed, and I believe one should have, as Corson coming across the line was upset, and now Flasser is on the ice, so the Czechoslovakian team will have a power play for 1:36 as Clark is in the penalty box for tripping. Again, the importance, as Terry Simpson said, action penalties but not reaction penalties.
Right again. I'm really impressed with this goaltender, Hasek. A lot of times European goaltenders flop around. The Finnish goaltender did quite a bit yesterday. In fact, that same goaltender is a member of the Toronto Marlboros Hockey Club. But this fellow is very cool, as Hasek is.
Hasek, by the way, has been drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks.
In the 10th round, no less. It's not a bad pick if they can get him to North America.
Well, that's one of the problems and one of the chances teams in the National Hockey League take when they draft players from Europe, particularly Czechoslovakia and the Soviet Union. They have difficulties in getting them out of the country. And then there are players such as Stasny's, and Peter Svoboda, who defected, and the Montreal Canadiens were able to draft him. And he made the surprise appearance at the draft meetings in Montreal. 9:53, the time remaining in the second period. It's still scoreless here at the Helsinki Ice Hall. The gold medal game between Canada and Czechoslovakia. Canada playing a man short. 1:16 remaining in the tripping penalty to Wendell Clark. From the face-off, back to the line to Flasser. Glasser moving in, winds up, right on the save, loose puck, and Kuchera tried to jam it into the far side. Billington made the save. Good pressure here by Czechoslovakia. Shot right on, and grabbing it and holding it is Billington with that blast from Gudis at the point. Well, to be successful in a World Hockey Championship, you need outstanding goaltending, and Craig Billington has provided it for Team Canada.
Both goaltenders here, but watch the vision that Billington's got. Both his defensemen go right across to the Czechoslovakian players, and Billington does a smart thing. He uses that glove hand very well. Now, he moved out. He used the glove hand. This fella is in total control at all times. I'm really impressed with his style of play.
He's a native of London, Ontario, playing junior hockey with the Belleville Bulls, and Billington has been drafted by the New Jersey Devils. He was a second-round pick at the '84 draft. So one of these days, if and when Chico Resch ever decides to retire, the Devils may have another outstanding goaltender.
You know who's having a pretty good year there is Ronnie Lowe. He's having a super season for the New Jersey Devils.
33 seconds remaining in the penalty to Wendell Clark. The Canadian team attempting to clear it around the boards, and it goes out of play. It's interesting, John, that on one side of the ice there is glass, on the other there is not.
Right. On the far side of the ice from the player benches, there's glass all the way around this surface. Where the players' benches are, there is no glass along that side. And a lot of times the defensemen are really used to having this glass there, and they go to shoot the puck out of their zone, and it goes out of play, and that cost them a goal in that finish game yesterday.
From the face-off, it's Johnson dumping it down the ice with 26 seconds remaining in the penalty. Marish winding up behind his own goal. Lubina runs into a check at the line. The puck bounces. Marish gets it again, takes a weak shot that is partially blocked by Barry, and then it's cleared down the ice.
Continually seeing two things. Bobby Bassett takes the body as much as possible. He's not a big man, but he plays like a big man. And Barry's pretty good at blocking shots. He likes to go down on that one knee. If he goes down on both knees, it takes him out of the play, but one knee, he's able to react.
Team Canada back at full strength. Marish in across the line, gets the shot. The save by Billington as Lubina was looking for the rebound. Billington may have been partially screened in that one as well.
He was, and he did the smart thing. He went down and covered a lot of the ice as these Czechoslovakians are shooting the puck low mostly during this hockey game.
8:12 remaining in period 2. Canada nothing, Czechoslovakia nothing at the Helsinki Ice Hall. The teams tied for first place, each with 5 wins and a tie. From the faceoff, Kuchera with a drive right on. Momentarily, Billington lost sight of the puck. Then he pounced on it quickly with Sevchik trying to poke it away.
He lost his balance a little bit there, Don, but he recovered quickly. A lot of times when he is down, he has got great reflexes. He recovers very quickly. Now here we can see Billington looking over to his right. What happens, you have Jackson talking to the referee. The referee sometimes, he did that yesterday too. He calls 1 or 2 players over and tries to talk to them to settle them down. It's a different philosophy.
Bob Dallas played junior hockey with Laval, a draft choice of the Winnipeg Jets. Dumping it out into the center ice area, fired back in. Now Yves Baudois, a long shot. Hasek has to make the save. There's no icing. Loose puck in the Czechoslovakian zone, and it's picked up and brought out by Kapusta. Kapusta for the Czechs. Long shot, knocked down by Billington. It goes to the corner and then back to the line. There's nobody in position. And the Czechs making a player change at the time, and they just got that player out there in the nick of time to pick up that puck, or Canada might have had a 2-on-1 break.
Well, that's called making a bad line change. They were very mixed up on the bench. One thing they did not do is have 2 or 3 guys go over the bench at the same time and get too many men on the ice penalty.
Discipline and control at that Czechoslovakian bench. Kuchera was dumped in the corner by Adam Creighton. 7:17 remains in the second period. Canada nothing, Czechoslovakia nothing. From the face-off, the Czechs break out of their own zone, led by Kuchera. Kuchera It's taken out of the play by Odeline. Cron follows up, goes to the corner. Unable to get away from Hodgson, and it's dumped down the ice. Racing back after it is Gudis. No icing on the call. Gudis chased behind his own goal by Lemieux. Gratton is there, and Clark steps into Gudis. But here's a chance for Czechoslovakia. The pass just a little too far for Kuchera. Oh, what a hit put on Gudis. He lost his helmet. He felt that impact from Wendell Clark. A long shot just goes wide. Kuchera almost poked it away from Billington as it came out and was loose, and Billington dove on top of it. But that hit by Wendell Clark on Gudis at the blue line sent the Czech's helmet flying, and he felt that impact as he went to the bench.
What was great about that was an open ice. Now watch the puck come back in behind Billington here. These boards are lively. The bottom yellow part of the boards is plastic, and lots of life off of there, but what a body check. Let's take a look at this. It's an open ice. Look at the Czech player with his head down, and look at Wendell Clark. He keeps his elbows down, uses his shoulder. That looked like a middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears. What a great body check.
Clark has dished out about 4 or 5 similar checks in this hockey game. Czechs will be making note of his number, I'm sure. Lato moving out. Feeding the puck to Kuchera as it poked away by Richer, and he was unable to go anywhere with it. Now it's played back into center ice. Barry breaks it up for Canada. Barry falls. The loose puck to Horvath. Horvath down on one knee, still managed to retain control to Marish. Across ice, Labina scores!
Well, the Czechs went forward with the puck, and it was a great passing play. Billington had no chance whatsoever. Now what happens is Barry gets caught up along the boards. And as he gets caught up along the boards, watch his quick little pass right there. 4 Canadians on one side of the ice. Nobody looking behind them to see where the Czechoslovakian players were, and they took advantage of it. See the 4 Canadian players all over on one side of the ice near where the puck was, and nobody at home other than Miner, and he was left naked, as was the goaltender Billington, and the Czechs took advantage of it, and they have the only goal of the hockey game.
13:57, the time of the goal by Lubina, with Marish drawing the assist. Horvath doesn't draw an assist on the goal, but he helped make that play by maintaining his balance as he was knocked down along the boards. Even on one knee, he continued to control. Krasler with a shot from the line. It goes off his skate to the corner. Kapusta in the corner for Czechoslovakia, trying to play it to the other side. Picked off by Team Canada, and they start back, led by Yves Baudouin. Baudouin working in across the line. Spun around. Here's a chance for Sandlak. He scores!
God, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see this, but just outside the Czech blue line, Sandlak was being checked, and he reached out with one arm and threw the Czechoslovakian player to the ice. Now watch, see right there where he threw him down to the ice? Now he's open, nobody checking him, and he made a nice play, and he took it wide on the goaltender and put it in. And they came right back. See where Sandlak had knocked that Czechoslovakian player right over. Now he follows up nicely on the play, and they get right back in the hockey game. That's a big goal as far as emotions go.
Well, Baudouin made the play, but they do not give assists very easily here in the World Junior Tournament, or for that matter in Europe. And it's an unassisted goal for Sandlak. Jim Sandlak tying the game at 14:33, but Baudouin certainly made the play in that. Now it's Cron racing in, trying to feed it out front, loose puck in the slot, and it's picked off by Lemieux. He starts back over on the left side for Gratton. Gratton working to the corner, poked away by Flasser. 14:33, the time of the goal. That tied it as Sandlak made a nice move first at the line, and then going in on Hasek as he picked up the puck after Baudouin was spun around. 4:52 is the time left here in the second period. The game is tied at 1. Now the Czechs to the attack, led by Kuchera. Kuchera trying to go around Wendell Clark. He stood his ground, and Clark Leaves it in the corner now for Brad Berry. For Lemieux. Lemieux flips it to an open wing, and it's picked up by Grattan. He brought it back into his own zone, falls, loses it to Pivonka, but Clark stepped into him along the boards, forcing a face-off in the Canadian zone.
Ron, you were talking about Yves Bourdois keeping his balance as we see some more of the Canadian fans here. You know, Bourdois is right now negotiating with the Washington Capitals. He was drafted by Washington in the 11th round in '83. And if he keeps playing like this, he's going to hold out just for a few days or a couple of weeks and get a few more of those green ones in the old bank account.
Spoken like a true ex-professional. Into the center ice area for Creighton. Creighton has to circle back to get organized with 4:13 remaining in the second. The score tied at 1. Jackson plays it off the boards into Czech territory. Bradley racing into the corner, unable to control it. Lubina, who has scored the lone Czech goal, tried to move out. He fell. Creighton goes in against the boards, unable to poke it free, and now the Czechs come back. Lubina's pass intercepted at the line by Selmar Odeline. He gets it ahead to Bradley with Jackson. Bradley taking a long shot. It's gloved and held by Hasek. As Jackson was looking for a possible rebound. 3:43 is the time remaining in the second period. The score tied at 1. And the tempo has picked up in the last few minutes.
It certainly has. Let's talk about some of the All-Stars that have played in this tournament past years that are now or have been in the National Hockey League. Players like Thomas Gradin. Wayne Gretzky played in this tournament, John. Played very well. Pelle Lindbergh, Thomas Steen, Anton Stasny. Some great hockey names. From over here, Håkan Loob, Gordy Kluzak. This is quite a prestigious tournament.
3:33 remaining in the second. On the right side, Tomac working to the corner, trying to feed it out front. He's pinned in against the boards, and Clark tried to clear it. Kept in, however, by Prasler. Clark goes back to the net, bumping there with Kapusta. Brad Berry goes in there to come up with the puck and bring it out for Team Canada. Berry off the boards for Richer. He dumps it down into the Czechoslovakian zone. Along the boards, kept in at the point by Clark. He takes a shot through traffic. It hit a player. Here's a breakaway now for Kapusta. Kapusta going in. And there's going to be a penalty coming up against Team Canada.
The Czechoslovakian players are pointing towards center ice. They think there should be a penalty shot on the play. This is what happens sometimes when you're a defenseman. You got to get that puck in. Clark did not. It set up a breakaway. And there you can see the slash of the trip in desperation.
Brad Berry coming in to take a whack at Kapusta and knock him off balance and possibly save a goal.
He knocked him off balance. That's saying the least. He sure did. Actually, a good play by the defenseman Berry. Just recovering for a error by his defensive partner.
Well, Clark let that shot go from the point. It hit a player and bounced out into the center ice area, and Kapusta was fed that lead pass. He had the breakaway opportunity. The score tied at 1. Canada now playing a man short. Berry off for tripping. Puck comes back to the line for Gudas. Fed into the corner. Gudas gets it back again. Gudas goes cross ice. A shot. It hit the post off the stick of Kron. Kron in the corner fighting with Jackson. Manages to feed it back to the point for Gudas. Gudas to Flasser. Flasser to Gudas. Gudas over to Kron. Kron trying to feed it into the slot. Intercepted by Basson, and it's cleared down the ice. 1:29 remaining in the penalty to Berry. 2:23 left in the second period with the score tied at 1. Pivonka working to the corner. Taken in against the boards by Odeline. Gets it over to Kron, back to the point to Gudas. To Kron, back to Gudas, trying to set something up. The Canadians doing a fine job of staying in that box, not giving the Czechs a good scoring opportunity. Now it's Pivonka, back to the point to Gudas. Slap shot, and it hit a leg in front. The Czechs get it back, another shot, and finally Johnson gains control and clears it with 50 seconds remaining in the penalty to Brad Berry. 1:43 in the period. Marish in the center ice area lost control of it as it was broken up by Johnson. finally brought in along the boards by Marish. Loose puck in the Canadian zone to the line, kept in by Flasser. Flasser working over to the boards to Kron, back to Flasser. Into the corner again. Here's a chance for Marish now as he feeds it back to the line to Flasser. Over to Marish. 17 seconds remaining in the penalty. Again, the Canadians doing a good job setting up the box. A long shot from the line, and Billington had a view of it and kicked it out. And as the Canadians attempt to clear, it goes over the boards and out of play. 4 seconds remaining in the penalty to Barrie. You see some of the action in front of that Canadian goal. Odeline and Lubina doing some shoving, and you see Salmar Odeline trying to move Lubina out of there, and then you see goaltender Craig Billington dropping to make the save. 1:01 the time remaining in the second period. 4 seconds in the penalty to Brad Barrie. Craig Billington has had an outstanding game so far. From the face-off, it's Minor. Up along the boards, kept in by Horvath, looking for Lubina, and decided to drop it to the corner because the Canadian team is back at full strength with Brad Barrie out of the box. Now it's Horvath working in the corner, knocked down by Bob Dallas. Dallas dumps it off the boards into the neutral zone. Pass picked off by Hodgson. Hodgson in across the line. He has it poked away. It goes to center ice, and Bratton is back there for Canada. He was upset. The puck cleared to the line. Lemieux brings it in. He's got Hodgson with him. He takes the shot, but the play is whistled down on the offside. 25 seconds remaining in period 2. It's Canada 1, Czechoslovakia 1. Lubina at 13:57.
25 seconds,
giving
man.
the Czechs the lead. And at 14:33, Jim Sandalak tied it for Canada. The face-off just outside the Czech line. Hodgson in the circle against Pavanka. Hodgson is waved out. Lemieux moves in. Now Pavanka is also waved out. Kuchera goes in. Draw goes back into the Canadian zone. 1-1 the score. Clearing pass knocked down at the line by Kuchera. He couldn't do anything with it, and Hodgson brings it back. He runs into a check as he is stopped by Flasser. The puck goes back behind the Czechoslovakian goal. Bratton lost his stick trying to move it up along the boards. He kicks it free. A race for the loose puck. Pavanka after it. The period ends. Pavanka lets the shot go just as the horn sounds to end the second period, with the two teams still tied. It was scoreless after 1, and it's 1-1 after 40 minutes. Pavanka with the shot just as the horn sounded to end the period. Even had he scored, it would not have counted as the horn had already sounded. Canada 20 minutes away from a gold medal here at the World Junior Hockey Championship. The score tied at 1. Canada relinquished the lead at the 13:57 mark, and a goal by Ledina got it back 30 seconds later as Jim Sandlak, a native of London, Ontario, who plays for Kitchener and was a late addition to the Canadian team, tied it. In the event these two teams wind up in a tie, Canada would be awarded the gold medal on the basis of goal differential, as Canada has outscored the opposition 42-12, creating a +30, while the Czechs have outscored their opponents 30-11, and their differential is 19. If they wind up in a tie, the Finns could still win the gold medal, provided, of course, they beat the Soviet Union by more than 8 goals. However, that prospect, I think, is rather slim. Play in the Czechoslovakian zone. Up along the boards, Kron circles behind his own net, then plays it up to the blue line. It's deflected down the ice by Pavanka as Barrie goes back and touches it. Icing is charged against Czechoslovakia.
Don, we're going to have to watch this Canadian Hockey Club now. They've been killing off a lot of penalties throughout this tournament.
There, boy.
And that means one thing. That means defensemen
like that
have a tendency of getting tired, and tired they should be. They've mostly rotated 5 people. Tonight's game, they've been rotating 6 defensemen. There's going to be real quick changes, I believe.
Come on, gang, let's go, let's get after it.
The Canadian team throughout the tournament has played very well in the third period. Adam Creighton got spun around, could not get a shot away, and he didn't see Jackson, who was cruising into the slot.
That's the book on Adam Creighton. If he could learn to finesse his passing a little bit better, he'd be rather a complete hockey player.
Bradley attempting to go around Prasler, lost control of the puck. It goes to the corner. Racing in, keeping it in, but having it deflect over the boards and out of play was Jackson. So there'll be a face-off outside the Czechoslovakian blue line.
As we take a look at Jeff Jackson, second rounder, the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know, he was asked originally when he came to the junior team if he would take sitting down and maybe be a defensive type of a player, a specialist, and he said no problems whatsoever. He's ended up playing a lot more than he anticipated, but that's the kind of attitude this hockey club has.
Race for the loose puck. Miner got there first, fed it to Lemieux. Lemieux couldn't go anywhere with it. What an interesting story with regard to Claude Lemieux. I think he, in the past year, has lost something like 30 pounds. He was getting just a shade heavy.
Yes, he was, and not playing well. This year, he's come back. He's 30 pounds lighter than when he played last year in junior, and he's become a much better hockey player because of that fact.
Laddle trying to work out from the corner. The puck goes loose, and it's picked up along the boards by Grattan. Grattan for the Canadians, working his way into the center ice area with Lemieux. Still has it. Grattan trying to feed it out front for Miner. Miner couldn't get a shot away. He had moved in from his blue line position. He fed it back in behind the net, but there was nobody there. And the Czechs start back into the center ice area. Hodgson steals the puck, then loses it to Labina. It goes back into the Canadian zone. 17:45 is the time remaining here in the third period. Rink-wide pass to the Team Canada bench as they were making a change and almost got trapped with Odeline coming on for Miner. A long shot that is handled by Billington. Billington feeds it back of the net for Corson. Corson breaking down the right side, working to the corner, trying to feed it out front, picked up there by Johnson. Johnson having some problems in the corner. Richer comes in to help out, and they take it to the boards for a face-off along with Kuchera of the Czech team.
Creighton, let's go.
One thing about Terry Simpson, he's certainly been a winner throughout his coaching years, Don. He's been in 4 Centennial Cups in Canada, which is emblematic of the Tier 2 championship. He won 3 of those. He's had a terrific time of it in Prince Albert with his Raiders junior clubs. He's done very, very well. He was the assistant coach last year's junior club, and I think that experience helped him also.
And his daughters Tracy and Kelly, along with his wife, are in attendance here in Helsinki. Here's Bradley with a shot. It just goes wide. The rebound. Adam Creighton trying to jam it in. It's loose. It comes back the line. Over the line with a shot. And it is blocked by Kapusta, who dropped in front of it. A couple of good scoring opportunities for Team Canada.
Real good scoring chances. Adam Creighton made a real nice play behind that goal. And Hasek, the goaltender, didn't know where Creighton was. In desperation, he just threw his body across the ice. And Creighton actually panicked a little bit. He had a little more time to go around with that puck and put it in the open net. But good play by both players, basically. Now watch Creighton control it. Now Hasek's going to go across. He doesn't know where he is. Now watch him just stick his leg around. Now Creighton had time, Don, to come around and flip it into the open net. He didn't.
16:59, the time remaining here in the third period. The score is tied at 1. Creighton goes to the boards. He comes up with that puck. Creighton still controlling it, trying to move in. He goes back to the net, feeds it out front, and Jackson didn't anticipate that setup because he was uncovered in the slot. Here's Tomac working to the corner. He's bodied by Odeline. Kapusta with the puck. He has it poked away, and Creighton plays it off the boards to center ice. Kuchera for the Czechoslovakian team to Sevcik. It crossed 2 lines offside. And immediately following this World Junior Hockey Championship game from Helsinki, you'll see the Tournament of Roses Rose Bowl Parade from Pasadena, California. And that will be followed by the Cotton Bowl as Doug Flutie and his Boston College teammates take on Houston. Lubina working to the corner. He's hauled down by Dallas. There's going to be a penalty here against Canada. Bob Dallas is going to the penalty box. The Montreal native who played for Laval is whistled by referee Ulf Lindgren. A holding call as he took down Lubina.
Lubina's a quick skater, Don, and he got Dallas turned going to the outside here. Watch him as he goes right by him. See the arm come out? That's a holding penalty, and that was the result of one player going much quicker than the other player. Dallas wasn't quite ready for that move to the outside. The Czechs have a big chance to get that goal lead.
The score is tied at 1. Loose puck taken to the boards by Barry. He hammers it off the boards, and it deflects out into the center ice area with Basson out there killing it off for Canada, along with Jackson, Baudouin, and Barry. Gudas fires it into the Canadian zone. It goes into the corner. Baudouin takes Kapusta in against the boards. He gets the puck, unable to clear, however. Flasser to Kapusta. Back to Flasser, over to Gudas. Gudas off the boards for Kron. Kron back to the line for Gudas. Return pass. The Canadians staying in that box, doing a good job. Now Gudas with a shot right on the rebound, and it's fired wide. In against the boards. Back to the line to Gudas, over to Flasser. Flasser moving in, takes a shot, and well out of his net to make the save is Craig Billington. 1:01 the time remaining in the penalty to Bobby Dallas. Billington has certainly come up big in key situations for the Canadian team in this championship game.
Some sensational goaltending by Craig Billington, and again his concentration level's been right on top of things. The Czechs moving that puck around quite well. Finally found an open seam and got that good shot directed towards the goaltender, but Billington came out, Don, and made the save there well out of his net, because he's feeling very confident that his defensemen are picking up those other wingers in front of the net, and that makes life a lot easier for a goaltender.
Puck cleared as 56 seconds remains in the penalty to Dallas.
Don, a couple of times on this power play, the Czechs have shot the puck in. That's not a bad play on a power play over here in Europe, because the goaltender has a hard time getting behind the net to stop the puck. In North America, the goalies really control that puck a lot. Not so much here.
Now it's Lattle back at the point, being watched by Corson. Feeds it in, gets it back again into the corner. Here's a chance for the Czechs. Fed out front, and it's fired wide. Lattle at the point to Marish. They're trying to set up Kadlec back at the point. He's got the big shot. Here's Lattle with the drive, and Corson got a stick in front of it, deflecting it to the boards. Johnson along the boards, lost it. It comes back to Lattle. Lattle feeds it into the corner. Marish back to Lattle. Again to Marish. 2 seconds remaining in the penalty. Lattle to Marish. Marish feeding it across for Kadlec. Moving in. A shot to save the rebound. It's fired wide. And the puck comes off its moorings with the penalty expiring.
Well, those Czechoslovakians, you can't get much closer than that. Kadlec actually hit the goalpost on the one play. This is similar to what they did earlier in the power play. Now watch how they try and hit this open man as he moves in. See, now he's got the chance. Now it's a right-handed shot, which improves his angle. He hit the goalpost on that shot, and then Billington recovered. Even though he was out of control a little bit there, he still got back up and covered as much ice as he could. Those Europeans like to get those right-handed shots over on the left side, and the same on the opposite side of the ice, and that really improves the angle of the shot.
Miner shooting it deep. Lemieux racing after it, and Hasek decides to cover up.
So once again, Don, this penalty killing unit of the Canadian Hockey Club does the job, even though that's one of the few times I've seen the European clubs actually control the puck in that Canadian zone, and they came very close to scoring.
Well, the Canadian team had back-to-back penalties early in the second period, which they survived, and here in the third, they survive an early penalty to Bob Dallas. The score remains tied at 1. Miner at the line, unable to keep it in. He recovers in time to feed it ahead. Here's Grattan across the line, but on the right side, Lemieux was ahead of the play.
Lemieux was a little bit anxious on the play, but you can see the Canadians now getting that puck to the outside, using the width of this ice surface, trying to penetrate the offensive zone. Still, the Czechoslovakians are not giving it up anything right up the middle. They're going to have to go wide and penetrate in towards that goal.
Canada opened with an 8-2 win over Sweden, followed up with a 12-1 triumph over Poland, and then beat West Germany 6-0. They defeated the USA 7-5, blanked the Soviets 5-0, and battled to a 4-4 tie yesterday with the Finns. A loose puck in the Czechoslovakian zone. Pivonka is bodied by Hodgson. He knocks the puck loose. It comes back to the line. Grattan trying to make a play, lost it. Here's a 4-on-2 break. Kron working to the corner, going for the goal, feeds it across, and Pivonka was unable to get a shot away. Now Canada comes back, a long lead pass. This will produce an icing call as it's touched by Gudas.
Don, that was an interesting pass down by the Canadian goal. The other defenseman slid across for Canada, and these Europeans have a real knack at feathering the pass. By what I mean by that is they take the puck and flip it up over top of the other players or the other players' sticks. Very well done. We take a look at Dan Hodgson. He's going to miss 7 games back in the Western Hockey League, and he was leading the scoring race at that time. And he didn't mind one bit to get back over here.
A shot from the face-off, and Billington got a piece of it. As that puck just hung in the air for a moment, it looked as though it might even slide into that Canadian net. Horvath going to the corner. 1-1 is the score with 12:40 remaining here in the third period. Lubina flips it into the corner. Pivonka is taken in against the boards by Selmar Odeline. Comes up along the boards into the center ice area. Adam Creighton racing down, but Marish got back to pick it up. Now Bradley has it. Bradley goes in behind the net, unable to make the play, but gets it back again. Into the slot. Jackson with a shot. The rebound. Out front. And Creighton couldn't get a shot away.
Great opportunity for the Canadians. That time they got Hasek down and all spread out over the ice. And they couldn't quite get the puck in the net.
Creighton comes back. He's checked by Kapusta. The puck goes loose, and the Czechs go to the attack. They lose it in the center ice area. This line doing a good job of checking. Bradley with Creighton in across the line, and the play is whistled down.
That was a 3-on-2 situation. The Canadians were going to have a glorious chance to score, but the net was off the mooring. Watch as this passing work by the Canadians here, and Hasek's going to be right down out of the play. Now there's a shot here and a rebound, and watch what happens here with the goaltender. Players for the Canadians couldn't quite get control, and look at that goaltender commit himself early. Now here's where the net came off. You can see it away from the goal line. It was not called for a good minute, and the goaltender did a smart thing by not putting it back on its moorings.
Now it's Richer trying to feed it out front. He falls as the Czechs pick it off and come back with Sevchik feeding it in on the left side. He gets the return pass, unable to go anywhere with it. Dallas plays it off the boards, too far for Richer. It's loose in the center ice area. Now Richer does get it. He gets the return pass as he works to the corner. Trying to feed it out front. He's knocked off the puck. Johnson, however, comes up with it for Canada. Moving in behind the net, trying to poke it free. Takes it to the boards, then tries to flip it back to the point. Picked off by the Czechs and cleared. Miner for Canada. Dumping it ahead for Johnson. Too far. Gudas playing it off the boards. Kept in by Miner. They try and feed it across. There's nobody in position. Hodgson gets it back to the net, trying to feed it out front. Was Johnson. And it was deflected by the Czechs, and Pivonka brings it in across the line to Flasser. He takes the shot wide. A drive from a bad angle by Pivonka. It hit the side of the Canadian net, and now Grattan comes back. A long lead pass on the right side for Lemieux, but as he touches it, he's offside. You'll be able to relive all of the excitement of the 1984 Los Angeles Olympic Games on January 5th on CBC television as we present a golden summer.
Well, a couple of shifts ago, the Canadians started to come out and take the body a lot more than they had done in this hockey game. It seemed to put the Czechs back on their heels a little bit, and the Canadians have had a couple of scoring chances since that one or two good shifts.
Claude Lemieux, who played junior hockey with Verdun and was a #2 draft selection by the Montreal Canadiens in 1983. A two-line pass as Barry fed it ahead to Grattan, producing the whistle. 10:20, the time remaining in this game.
You can see the players getting their, what they call the edges repaired on their skates. These trainers keep what they call a stone in their pocket. Sometimes so the edge comes quickly on your skate. Repair it very quickly.
The Czechs must win if they want the gold medal. They would lose to Canada on goal differential if they wound up in a deadlock for first place. Cadillac trying to play it in, broken up at the line, loose puck. Now it's brought in by Lubina. Lubina feeding it across. Good defensive play by Brad Barry. Barry dropped down to break up that pass. Now it's Hodgson in across the line, dropping it for Grattan, a shot, and looking for the rebound was Sandlak. He has the only Canadian goal, and he came very close to making it a 2-1 game as he was looking for that rebound and just missed it off the shot by Grattan. Now it's Barry starting out for Canada. Ahead to Grattan. He deflects it into Czechoslovakian territory.
You can see, Don, the way the Canadians are getting that puck in the zone. They're going wide with it, and it's starting to work. Hodgson had a pretty good shot on goal a second ago. They've got to stay wide with it.
9:24, the time left in the hockey game. A long shot. Bobby Dallas going back into his own zone, playing it up along the boards into the neutral area. Kuchera waits for his teammates to get onside, shoots it in, and Selmar Odeline came back to break it up. A pass for Adam Creighton. He gloves it, works in across the line, then is upset along the boards on a good check by Peter Prasler. It goes back at the Czechoslovakian goal. Jackson trying to dig it free. Now Creighton comes in to help out, but Prasler gets in there to grab that loose puck along the boards for Kapusta. Kapusta takes a check from Creighton as it's cleared to center ice. Fired back in by Jackson. Sevchik behind his own goal, playing it to the far side to Prasler. His pass knocked down, but Kuchera picked it up. Kuchera for Sevchik. He took a hit from Yves Baudouin as Jackson starts back, trying to work along the boards, loses control of it. He also loses his stick, and Pavonka starts back for Czechoslovakia. He gets away from Johnson. From Baudouin, still has it. Feeds it in front for Sevchik. He deflected it. It went high over top of the Canadian goal. They take it in against the boards. Dallas trying to freeze it for the face-off as they try and make a line change with 8:10 remaining. The Czechs and Canada tied at 1 with 8:10 remaining in the hockey game. The only scoring in a 36-second span in the second period. Lubina giving Czechoslovakia a 1-0 lead. Jim Sandlak tying it for Canada.
Don, this is a spot where I get nervous. Face-offs in that Canadian zone. They have not done well throughout the tournament.
They've definitely had some problems. Corson gloved it to Basson, and Basson fired it out, and of course the play was whistled down as it was gloved ahead.
Now what I liked on that play was the Czechoslovakian player actually won the face-off, but Basson's going to neutralize it. Now watch him stay there, and each player is trying to grab one of the other guys. That's the way to try and control the puck. Even though there's going to be a little bit of a hand pass, another face-off.
Back to the line. Goodis with a shot. It goes wide. Barry playing it around on the boards for Johnson. Johnson having problems getting out of there. Pavonka trying to center. It comes out to Kron. He took a shot. Loose puck. A toe save by Billington as they were jamming away at it in the slot in front of that Canadian goal.
And that shot from the slot was again blocked by Barry, who does a terrific job. He's really good at that. It's a fine art to get to be able to do well.
A long shot knocked down in front. They score. Pavonka.
Well, the leading scorer for the Czechoslovakian Hockey Club adds another one to his goal-scoring talents. That'll be number 8 for him in the tournament. But watch Billington go down here a little bit early. And Pavanka actually swirled right around and bang, up top he went with the puck. Canadians again losing those draws in their own zone. The puck was bouncing, and I think if Greg Billington had it all over again, he would want to stand up on that play.
That goal coming at 12:22 here in the third period. Pavanka, the leading scorer for Czechoslovakia, and they have a 2-1 advantage. An unassisted tally for Pavanka. .738 the time left in the hockey game. Well, Team Canada responded, going to the attack and getting the equalizer 36 seconds after Czechoslovakia scored the game's opening goal. Can they come back here in the final 7 minutes and 20 seconds? Salmar Odeline starting out from his own zone, having some problems along the boards, finally shoots it into Czech territory, and as it's touched, it's whistled down. An icing call against Canada.
Okay, we're going to have to watch this Canadian squad now and see how they're going to come back from that one goal the Czechs just went into the lead with. And keep in mind, they have that idea of calling that illegal stick.
7 minutes, huh?
I'm sure they were overlooking it.
Do something with it.
At the sticks of the Czechoslovakian hockey club. The Canadian club is tired. You can almost see it on the bench. Now the coaches have to really fire them up, try and get them going. 7:09 left. You really have to take down and reach back and try and get as much as you can out of your players.
Back to the line. Gudis shoots it into the corner. Bob Dallas goes back there after it. He plays it around to the other side. Ahead for Richer. Richer having some problems at the line with Pavanka. Finally pokes it away from him. Now Richer works in across the line. A pass on the right side for Johnson. Johnson going back of the goal. Still controlling it. Then he has it poked away by Gudis. Gudis, an outstanding young defenseman for this Czechoslovakian team.
Gudis has been hit a number of times during this hockey game too, Don, and hit very, very hard. And it doesn't seem to bother him too much. He's also got very good speed. He recovers very well.
Well, I'm sure many of the scouts are taking a close look at the play of Leo Gudis. It seems that every National Hockey League team has at least one representative here watching the action.
And they all said to say Happy New Year and wish their families well back in Canada. There's sure an awful pile of them around. You know that good as it always helps when your coach is a former national team member and a great, great defenseman. Pospisil, his name was.
Lubina jumped ahead of the play, and he would probably get a pretty good award on this. He's doing a bit of acting, trying to attract the attention of the official, indicating that there should have been a penalty. Well, maybe there should have been.
Well, there's the slash. He actually left before that, before the puck was dropped in the face-off circle, and you can see the ejection buttons go as his gloves left his hands, but a little bit much.
Back to the line, a shot by Barry. It hit a leg, bounces out to center ice, and Marish takes a long drive. Pad save by Billington. Barry goes to the corner. The Canadian team trying to go to the attack to get the equalizer. They trail 2-1 with 6:26 remaining in this championship game. Loose puck. Bradley at the side of the net, in front, they score! Bradley to Clark, and it's a tied game.
I was just going to say that this Canadian Hockey Club has to get something out of their big line. And just as I was about to say it, they came right out and did it. Terrific passing plays. They again took advantage of this goaltender Hasek going down a little bit early. Now coaching staff are talking things over. Try and control. Now watch the good pass work here. They get the Czechs running a little bit. Now watch the goaltender drop here. Why, I don't know. And then a beautiful little pass right across from Bradley to Wendell Clark. And Clark put it in the open side beautifully. Again, good pass work starting with Creighton, right over to Bradley and over to Clark. Now that defenseman went to Bradley for no reason, forgot about Clark behind him, and the Canadians took advantage of it.
Big goal by Wendell Clark, a native of Kelvington, Saskatchewan. And he has tied it. The goal coming at 13:43. So that was a minute and 11 seconds, or pardon me, a minute and 21 seconds after Czechoslovakia had taken the lead. In the second period, after the Czechs had moved in front, the Canadians tied it just 36 seconds later. So the score is tied at 2. A lead pass for Basson too far. It slides back into the Czechoslovakian zone. Glasser falls in the corner. Basson comes up with it. Back to the line. A shot right on. Another drive from a sharp angle. It's gloved and dropped at the side of the net by Hasek. Basson runs into Gudis. The puck goes loose. Kron retreats into his own zone. He's being watched closely by Johnson. Now Basson goes off and Hodgson comes on for the Canadian team. Kuchera circles back into his own zone. Drop pass for Gudis, fed up along the boards too far into the Canadian zone as it's touched by Barry. There's an icing call against the Czechs with 5:22 remaining in the game.
Done some pretty good forechecking by Johnson. He was by himself in that offensive zone simply because the Canadians don't want to get two guys trapped in there. They do not want to get outmanned as far as line rushes go for that Czechoslovakian hockey team. Keep in mind, it's a 2-2 game. That's all they need for the gold medal. They don't need a win. They need the tie.
From the face-off, the puck bounces back to the line. Bradley takes a shot that hit Cadillac. The Czechs do a good job at that blue line. Here's Barry with another drive, and it goes wide of the goal. The defensemen drop in front of a lot of shots. Hodgson attempted to work from that corner. He gets the puck again, feeds it back to the line. Odeline over to Barry. Barry with a shot. It went off a glove. At the side of the net, they jam at it, and they knock the cage off its moorings.
Canadians playing smart hockey right now. They're not sitting back. They're playing smart. They get control. They try to take advantage in the offensive zone. They don't have the puck. They're making sure they just have the one guy in deep. These nets come off the moorings awfully easy over here. They just have these little pins underneath the bars, or the post that is, and they slide back quite easily. But Hasek, pretty good skills, plays cool in there, but he does go down a lot on those along the goalposts, and the Canadians certainly took advantage of it on that last goal.
4:52 is the time remaining. It's 2-2, Canada and Czechoslovakia. From the face-off, Bobby Dallas from the blue line takes a shot. It hit a stick, and Kron comes back for Czechoslovakia. Kron upset by Dallas. The puck slides to the goal mouth. Jackson takes it against the side of the net, forcing a face-off. However, this is where the Canadian team has some problems with those face-offs in their own zone.
That's right, Don. Let's watch and see what the coaching staff of this Canadian club, who they're going to send out there for this face-off. Don't forget the last hockey game, the 4-4 tie with Finland. Boucher took most of the key face-offs. Here's Basson's going to stay out there against Pavanka.
Pavanka trying to get his stick on the puck from the face-off. It bounces high, and it's dumped over the boards and out of play by Baudouin.
Now you can see again, Basson stayed with Pavanka. If you don't win that face-off, at least neutralize and stay with that man that you're fighting against. And that time they made real sure of it. Now they're going to again change lines very quickly here as the defensemen should be tiring. They deserve to be tiring actually right now.
Well, in 1982, when Canada won the gold medal, they fought to a 3-all tie with Czechoslovakia in the final game. Perhaps we have a bit of history repeating itself here. Oh, from that face-off, the puck got tangled up in the skates, and Horvath almost poked it past Craig Billington, who didn't see the puck at all. In behind the Czechoslovakian goal, the puck is loose. Picked up by Marish. Marish trying to move out of there. It goes to the corner. Jackson takes Lattle in against the boards. Now it comes to Basson. Basson plays it back in the corner to Jackson. He takes a long shot. It's gloved and held by Hasek with 3:59 remaining in the third period.
Take a look again at Brian Bradley. Another one of these Canadian hockey players that does go to school. One thing about the Canadian juniors, Don, they're very proud of the fact that a lot of them are in school, taking university courses, leading up to university, and they're very proud of that fact.
Corson in the corner. Plays it in back of the net. Picked off by the Czechs, brought out into the center ice area. A pass for Pavanka. He's seen a lot of action here in this third period. He tried to feed it across, intercepted by Canada, and cleared back to the neutral zone. 3:37 the time remaining. A loose puck as Johnson flips it back in behind the Czechoslovakian goal. Richer also comes in there. Richer down on one knee trying to make the play, couldn't do it, and back comes Flasser. His pass picked off by Bob Dallas. Dallas hit Richer on the back as he tried to feed that pass ahead to him. It comes back into the Czechoslovakian zone. A tie should be good enough to give Canada the gold medal. They could still be deprived of that cherished medal if Finland were to defeat the Soviet Union by 8 goals in the final game of the tournament that takes place later tonight here at the Helsinki Ice Hall. But if Canada and Czechoslovakia finish in a tie in this game,
Guys, come on!
and Finland does not win by more than 8 goals, Canada would get the gold. Barry with a drive. It goes wide. Loose puck in that Czechoslovakian zone. The Czechs trying to go to the attack because they must win to claim the gold medal, something they have not done in this World Junior Championship. They have won 3 silver medals, but never the gold. A loose puck now as Kadlec tries to go rink wide, and Selmo Rodeline broke that one up. Now Grattan for Hodgson. Hodgson flipping it in, and as Lemieux picked it up, it's whistled down on the offside. 2:32 the time remaining. The score is tied at 2. Twice Czechoslovakia went into the lead after a scoreless first. Lubina at 13:57 of the second made it 1-0. 36 seconds later, Jim Sandlak tied it for Canada. Then at 12:22 of the third, Pavanka scored for the Czechs. At 13:43, it was tied by Wendell Clark. Marish back to the line, kept in, a shot, rebound, Jackson with a shot, and it's gloved and flipped off to the side by Hasek. 2:14 remaining in the hockey game. Bobby Dallas breaks up the pass at his own line, dumps it back out to center ice. Flasser waiting for his teammates to get back on side, shoots it in off a stick, and it's fired back out by Baudouin. 1:58 the time remaining. The puck shot into the Canadian zone, offside. Remember, immediately following this World Junior Championship game, you'll be seeing the Tournament of Roses Parade from Pasadena, California. And that will be followed by the Cotton Bowl as Heisman Trophy winner Doug Flutie leads his Boston College mates against Houston. From the faceoff, Kadlec back at his own line. He goes rink wide. Lead pass deflected into the Canadian zone and then dumped down the ice. Now Kapusta circling in the center ice area. Fires it into Canadian territory with 1:37 remaining. Loose puck picked up by Marish. Marish trying to feed it in front. The Canadians pick it off and dump it down the ice. Kadlec going back after it, being watched by Richer. 1:25 remaining in the game. 2-2 the score here at the Helsinki Ice Hall. Canada and Czechoslovakia fighting for the gold medal. Canadians doing a good job of forechecking, refusing to let the Czechs organize an attack. 1:05 remaining as it's dumped down the ice. Lattle touches it, producing an icing call against Canada. The face-off will take place back in the Canadian zone. Hasek had started to make a move for the Czechoslovakian bench, and he then positions himself about halfway between the goal and the blue line, an indication that he will be heading to that bench very shortly. An important face-off in the Canadian zone to the right of goaltender Craig Billington. Now Basson is coming out there to join Grattan and Hodgson for the face-off. And Hasek had again moved up to that Czechoslovakian bench and then went back to the goal, and now the Czechoslovakian players are going over to the bench. Referee Ulf Lindgren is indicating to the players that they are not allowed to make another change. They must move to that face-off circle. I believe František Pospišil, the coach of the Czechoslovakian team, was contemplating on pulling his goaltender. 1:02 is the time remaining. The face-off to the right of Craig Billington. Hodgson in that face-off circle. Puck is dropped and it's picked up by Yves Baudouin. He goes back of his own net. Baudouin up along the boards into the center ice area. 52 seconds remaining here in the hockey game. Now it's Kadlec from his own zone. Pass on the right side for Marash. Hasek is heading to the bench. Now he decides to go back as Canada gains possession and they dump it down the ice. 35 seconds remaining in the game. A pass for Pavanka. Pavanka working his way through center ice. Pavanka at the line, a pass in the wing, a weak shot that slides wide of the Canadian goal. Up along the boards and down the ice with 18 seconds remaining. Kadlec goes back, he touches it for an icing call with 15 seconds left in the game, and now Hasek is going to that Czechoslovakian bench with the face-off in the Canadian zone to the left of Craig Billington. A tie will leave Canada alone in first place, and again Hasek has moved back onto the ice surface. He's at the blue line, just a few strides away from the Czechoslovakian bench. Even though the teams came into this game with identical records of 5 wins and a tie, Canada would be in first place on the basis of goal differential. Coming into the game, they had scored 42 and had given up 12. The Czechs had scored 30 times and had yielded 19. And again, the Czechs have had a change of heart. Hasek has gone back into goal. The face-off taking place in the Canadian zone to the left of Craig Billington. Pavanka in the face-off circle. The draw comes back to the line. Flasser plays it in behind the goal. Baudouin taking it in against the boards against Kapusta with 6 seconds remaining. The Canadian team in control of the puck. They are dumping it out into the center ice area. That's the hockey game. Team Canada and Czechoslovakia fighting to a 2-all tie as twice Canada came from behind, and that should be a gold medal performance.
I think Sherry kind of loosened the guys up a little bit with a talk. He's quite a man. I really was impressed. He's like Newt Rockney. He can get in there with the troops and muck around with the kids, and they respect him, and he's very intense. And you've got to respect Sherry because he understands the game very well. He can be very intense, yet he can divorce himself from that and get right to the hockey game as well. So he did an outstanding job, and I think Sherry and George deserve an awful lot of credit.
Something to prove here in this. Randy? Yeah. Every one of us, let's go around, Street. This is it. This is it. Folks, we're tired, boy. I'll tell you something. Nobody gave us a goddamn chance to be here. Nobody. Nobody gave us a chance. Nobody thought about it. Everybody laughed about it.
That's a kick ass.
60 minutes to go, Deke. 20 minutes at a time. Come on, Boots, you got to lead it back. your kind of hockey game, boy. This is where it's at. This is where champions are made. 60 minutes. No turning back, boy. There's no second place here now. Goddamn melt that silver medal. Like it's melted.
Jerry Basson and myself and George Riviere, the coaching staff, we just sat down and said, you know, we know that to be effective against the Europeans, we just can't be in the penalty box. So we logically explained to the kids that, you know, if you're going to give them 8 or 10 power plays, we're not going to win. It's as simple as that. We've got to limit it down to 2 or 3 a game and no more than that. And we explained that if you take a retaliatory penalty, all you're doing is selfish. You're making the team, you're penalizing the team because you haven't got enough courage to take that dirty check or whatever it was. And the guys seemed to grasp that logic of that, Don, and they seemed to handle it, and I was very impressed. I saw many occasions when players might have retaliated and they bit the bullet and didn't do it, and that was a big part of our success. The thing that I was really pleased with, Don, was a lot of kids, I think all the players exhibited a lot of leadership within our team at one time or another. I don't think any one person dominated all the time in the leadership role. It seemed to move along our team at certain cases and certain instances in games. Certain people would take charge. And you could see that we had 20 people that were used to being leaders. And our goaltenders, you know, really we don't think of goaltenders as being leaders, but they are certainly leaders in their own way as well.
Would you recommend an all-star aggregation for future tournaments?
I think it's the way to go, Don. I really believe it can be done the right way, particularly if you can get together in the summertime, possibly for a week or 2 weeks, do some preparation, and then if the players go back to their club teams when the season starts, that's fine. And then if they can meet in one location for maybe possibly 8 or 9 days, Don, I'm sure that you could put together a fairly effective team.
In a game many described as one of the most exciting junior contests they've ever witnessed, the Czechs hit the scoreboard first. With only 1 minute and 7 seconds remaining in the opening period, Vladimir Ruzicka unloaded a drive from just inside the blue line that deflected past Mike Moffat. However, the Czechoslovakian joy was short-lived. Only 35 seconds later, on a delayed penalty call, the Canadians swarmed into the Czechoslovakian zone. And their efforts were rewarded when Paul Boutillier, a defenseman from the Sherbrooke Beavers, jammed the puck past Václav Stierbacher, and after 20 minutes, the score was tied at 1. The Czechs again dominated the second period, outshooting the Canadians 16-5. But they couldn't beat Mike Moffat until the final minute. And that the result of a scramble in front of the Canadian goal, with Rostislav Floch finally banging it in. The third period belonged to the Canadians, restricted to just 10 shots on goal during the first 40 minutes. They fired 19 shots at the Czechoslovakian goal in the third and got the equalizer just past the 4-minute mark. Mark Habscheid of the Saskatoon Blades was the marksman. 3 minutes later, the Canadians had the lead for the only time in the game. Mike Mahler from the Lethbridge Broncos was positioned at the side of the net and cashed in on the setup from Todd Strebe. But with only 4:30 remaining in the game, Yuri Dudacek, ranked the #1 junior player in the world a year ago and drafted by Buffalo, scored the equalizer. Dudacek unloaded a slap shot from just inside the blue line, and the score was tied at 3. Mike Moffat was tested 41 times in the showdown with the Czechs. 12 of those saves were made in the final period, and some of his best saves were made in the game's dying seconds. The Czechs, needing a win to deprive Canada of the gold, sent out an extra attacker with 17 seconds remaining. But despite the frenzied efforts of the Czechs, Moffat handled everything they directed his way. And as the final buzzer sounded, the Canadians poured off the bench to mob their 19-year-old backstop from Kingston. It was a moment of wild celebration, the accomplishment of a task many thought impossible. 20 young players, none of whom were born the last time a team from this country won a World Hockey Championship, had elevated Canada to #1 status in World Junior Hockey. With no recording of our national anthem available, Team Canada decided to offer their own rendition.
was the first year they started having a national team, national junior team again. And we spent Christmas Day practicing at the University of Manitoba. They had an old rink before they built the new one there, and it had to have been -40, and at 8 in the morning, that's where we were on Christmas morning.
We had a very big and very solid defense on that team, and that's pretty much why we were so competitive and why we won that tournament, I think, because our defense was bigger than any of them other teams in the World Championship.
The final game of the '82 tournament, we played Czechoslovakia in Rochester, Minnesota, and it was a small rink, and there was 3,000 people jammed in, and all we had to do was tie to win the medal because we had won all our previous games. And Mike Moffat was the goalie, and I think the last minute they had 5 or 6 face-offs in our end, and they were all over us.
We had a face-off in our zone with a few seconds left, and it was a very tense moment that we had to win the face-off and clear the zone to win the game.
I was on the bench, and the rest was on the bench. We just as we were scared to watch, but after it's all said and done, we won, so it's easy to talk about. But Mike Moffat was the hero of that tournament, there's no question. The funny thing about it was they didn't have the Canadian national anthem, and so all the players took upon themselves to sing it on the blue line after we won.
It was something that whenever we met each other in the NHL, we always had a little smile on the ice for each other because there was a bond that we have and we'll never forget.
Just to be able to play on a Canadian team and win a gold medal was, it was a big, at the time, the biggest thrill of my life and one of my fondest memories.